Okay, I want to talk about callback functions, exactly what they are and how they work. So I'm sure you've heard of people saying, oh yeah, call this method and it's got a callback function. So what is that? How does it work? Well, I've built this page where I'm simulating geolocation. So the browser has a navigator object. Inside of that object is a geolocation object. It's got methods for determining your current position. I'm going to simulate that. I'm going to show how that works. It's a fairly common thing to do. If you're using geolocation, it's got two callback functions. So I'm going to show you how that works, and through that, how callback functions in general function. All right, I have a call down here at the bottom. This is the call that's doing all the work. Inside my script, I have an app object. Inside that, there's a method called geolocation. So I'm calling this function. Now we're going to get into this code a little bit later. It's just simulating what the real one does. It's expecting to have two things passed to it. These are just variable names, good and bad. They could be anything at all. This could be John and Mary. Doesn't really matter what they are. It's the fact that it's expecting two things, and the two things that it's expecting are functions. Down here, where I'm calling this, I'm saying, all right, I've got an object called app. Inside of that, there's a function called geolocation. I'm going to call that function, and I'm going to pass in the names of two functions. Now these functions, these are ones that I've created myself. They're not part of the geolocation object. Right here, I have created a function called success and a function called fail. These functions I'm passing in. So I'm saying, all right, the function success and the function fail, if my geolocation thing works, I want this function to run. If it has a problem, if it fails for any reason whatsoever, this is the function that I want to call. The fail function is going to be expecting to be passed an error object, and the success function is going to be expecting to be passed something called position. So this is what they're going to be expected to be called. When success is called, it's waiting for something. When fail is called, it's waiting for something. The internal code does all that work for us. We just say, here's the names of the two functions. Success is being put in here. Fail is being put in here. If it works, call this function. And I know that it's when this function is going to be called, this code is going to be passing me back a position. If this function runs, so if it fails inside of here, this function, whatever it is, so fail, that's going to be called if something goes wrong, and it's going to pass out an error object to me. I can extract the message from that, and if I get the position, I know that it's got latitude and longitude properties inside this. Now in the browser, when I run this, what I've got the code doing is about 50% of the time I'm saying it's going to work, and the other 50 it's going to fail. So there's a failure. Something bad happened, my simulated geolocation failure. Refresh, you are at position this. Keep refreshing this, and about 50% of the time it's going to come up with a failure, about 50% of the time it's going to work. So I'm calling this geolocation method and I'm giving it functions to run. That is a callback function. This is the function to call when it works. This is the function to call if it fails. Now, you're not always going to have two of them. Sometimes there's only going to be one function that you pass in. Say, this is my callback function. This is the one I want you to call if things work or when things are finished. Sometimes there's multiple states that could come back from calling the method, and then you'd have 2 or 3 or even 4 callback functions. There's no limit to the number. It all depends on how this code is defined. All right, let's take a look inside that code now. Now again, this is just my simulated code. I just want to show something that looks like it's working. My function starts here, runs down to here. That's the whole thing. I'm doing a try-catch block. Inside the try, I'm defining a variable, an object called POS, pause for position. It's got two properties, latitude, longitude. Latitude 0, longitude 0, those are the default values. Then I'm going to generate a random number between 0 and 360, subtract the 180. That makes the number from negative 180 to positive 180. Longitude, oh actually that's not correct. I should be going from negative 90 to positive 90 for my longitude. So there we have our coordinates for latitude and longitude, and they're just randomly generated values. I am then generating a random number, either 0 or 1. If it's 1, I'm saying it's failing. If it's 0, it's working. And how I do that is I'm calling this good right here. This is the function that I passed in. This is the success function. Got passed into this variable, and I'm saying, all right, call whatever that function is. Tell it to run. The first argument here is the context for this. What is the context in which I'm calling this function? I'm saying I'm calling it from inside of here. And POS, this is the argument being passed to that function. So from right here, if my random number was 0, I'm going to call the function good, which is really the success function. Good is here. We passed success into that. So I'm calling the success function right here, and I'm passing this position object into there. That's the one argument that I'm passing. If there were additional arguments, I could put them on here afterwards as well. I could say, and the number 17. Down here, we could add another variable, and I can write num, there we go, in my template string. Jump back to here, refresh this, and there it is. There's the number 17 coming back. So I've passed an extra parameter down into here. We're only working with this one, but there's no limit. I could pass as many as I want down to here. So pause was this object. I'm randomly setting the values for latitude and longitude. That's being passed down to success, and then I'm writing out latitude and longitude inside of position, and I'm using this variable name right here. When it fails, because I'm inside of a try-catch, I can throw an error. When I throw the error, that tells the catch part to run. When the catch part runs, it's the bad one. Whatever's inside of bad, which is the fail function. So I'm passing the fail function up to here. That's inside of this. And when I call it, I'm calling the fail function. Again, the context that I'm calling it in is my geolocation object, and ERR, that is the error object that happened right here, which is my error. And this actually becomes the message property. So this gets passed down into error, error.message, that is my message. Now, the fact that I've got the same variable name here and here and here doesn't really matter. This could be something else. I could have error and error like that. These two need to be the same, but this is just a value or an object being passed down into here. Inside of here, these two need to be the same way these two need to be the same. But this is my error object that I'm passing down to this variable, and then I'm extracting the message out inside this line. So console.warn, if I wanted to pass an additional parameter, I could. Again, we could pass the number 42. This could take another variable, num, and we could write that out inside of here as well. When I run this and get an error, there we go, there's 42. There's the number 42 that came from here, passed into this variable, and down into here to be written out. And that's what a callback function is. It's a method that wants to know what's the name of the function that you want me to run when I'm finished. Really, at its crux, that's all that it is. So hopefully that has helped. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.